remember.
Target acquired.
Mind the side effects.
Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm going to be giving a follow-up video to my last Kinich video. For those who haven't seen it, it shows off how to easily get 5 cannon shots off with Kinich's skill. For today's video, I'm going to be answering some questions, playing him in a few teams that don't utilize his passive to the fullest, and showing off a few tips to help you guys get to know his kit better. And without further ado, here's how to get off 5 cannon shots without using his burst. Just kidding. There's stuff I need to explain in order for this to work out. You've probably already noticed with the intro clip that I wasn't doing the usual animations that you typically see. New tech has been brought to my attention. Shout out this person that actually lets you cancel Kinich's skill animation. It's similar to Nuvalet's charge attack cancel. Doing this tech actually saves time, and it's necessary for you to get 5 shots off without using your burst. Now, how you do this is by holding your skill for long enough to tell the game, I plan on aiming, but to release it right as the game starts to give you a crosshair. I hope you have some hours in aim labs because you're gonna need them, due to the auto aiming feature getting removed when you manually aim. People have deemed this tech quickscoping. Now that that's out of the way, here's actually how you get 5 cannon shots off without needing to use your burst. First of all, it's almost a must to have pre-burning on the enemy. I'm sure it's possible without, just very hard. Secondly, I saw a comment about the position of the first blind spot, and I was actually wrong. It's based on the direction key you have inputted when casting your skill. Well, I wasn't fully wrong. If you don't have any inputs, the first blind spot will be on the left. This is because if you don't use any movement keys when in his skill, it defaults to going left. But nobody's playing Kinich without frantically holding a direction key, foaming at the mouth for those beautiful blind spots. So with that, you want to cast your skill and choose your desired direction. I like the left side, due to the hold version of the skill usually putting your camera on Kinich's right shoulder. Speaking of the camera, I hope you don't get easily motion sick. Kinich isn't very friendly towards people who like to see properly. Anyways, once your Night Soul bar is filled up, you want to quickscope as fast as possible. Blind spots after the first one are all RNG, but you only technically need one to actually get all 5 shots off without your burst. And just to make sure this was true, I spent over an hour and 20 minutes just to prove that for you guys. I know I just said the blind spots are all RNG, but they technically aren't. It's very subtle and hard to see, but in this clip, the camera ever so slightly positions itself to the next future blind spot. I only realized this after the first hour, but my suffering was for your gain. Sorry about the detour to Tech City, but essentially you need to try and quickscope all of the shots besides the last. For that, you want to be spamming your skill to try and get the final shot off. Also, make sure you aren't trying to quickscope like in the footage shown here. It'll just slow you down. Now that we know how quickscopes work, let's get into some other teams you guys suggested I try out. This here is a quicken / hypothetical Hyperbloom team. In this team, you can't take advantage of the free 7 Night Soul points every 0.8 seconds, so you can't get as many cannon shots as you normally would be able to. Playing him normally, you could only get 2 cannon shots off, but with quickscoping, you can easily get 3 off. And if you don't want to struggle and miss shots with quickscoping, using your burst to extend your time works too. The timing's just a little tighter when using this method. Next, let's try teams with Farina. So with this team, you won't be gaining as much fanfare as you'd want if you're aiming for all 5 cannon shots, because Farina's Hydro application is too strong for you to maintain burning or get many Burgeons. So I opted to change the 3 little guys to the healing turret, so Gangatron can't let you gain as much fanfare. Also, you would typically find yourself too far from the enemy to hit them with Pyronado, which means you lack Pyro application, depending on the target type. And on top of that, if you can't even reach the enemy, then it's unlikely you'll reach the blooms. Kinich is also solo Dendro in this team, so you can't start with a pre-burning enemy. So in order to get 5 cannon shots, you need to do quickscopes and use your burst. The rotation for this team goes as follows. I start by changing Farina's healing turret to Gangatron. Then I immediately burst. Then Xiangling skill and burst, followed by Bennett skill and burst. Then swap Farina back to the healing turret. Finally swap to Kinich for his rotation. Use his skill and then go to his first blind spot. By now you should be able to use your cannon. Make sure you quickscope. Then again for your second cannon, followed by your burst into another quickscope, into another blind spot and quickscope, then your final cannon. Remember, you don't need a quickscope for the last shot. Now let's move on to a few tips and tricks you should know about Kinich's... I actually made a tongue twister. Now let's move on to a few tips and tricks you should know about Kinich's kit. First off, for exploration, you can gain more distance by jumping with this skill. I tested with and without, and even running and jumping. You technically gain more distance with running and jumping, but that's because of the sprinting head start you'd have. Secondly, someone asked about how sprinting while in your skill would affect the speed of gaining Night Soul points. I tested this out for about half an hour, and came to the conclusion that it just slows you down. The time it takes you to sprint and grapple to an enemy is about the same or less than just staying connected and normal attacking. Honestly, I thought I had more tips. I guess I covered most throughout the video, but the last tip I have for you guys is that the quickscope shots can actually track. I managed to get this to happen, and after analyzing the clip, the only conclusion I could come up with is that when you perfectly aim at a target, it gains the usual auto tracking. I could be completely wrong with this, but I was 100% in the manual aiming mode, and to be completely honest, it was a crazy flick. You've got a like for that, and subscribe if you want, it's totally up to you. After spending over an hour trying to get 5 shots off with only 1 blind spot, which, by the way, I gave myself 1 blind spot because it's the only one you could control, so it's guaranteed. I actually learned the crazy camera moving tech, which to my knowledge hasn't been discovered yet. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time. See ya. Also, thank you everybody for the very nice comments. Alright, bye.